We are just starting the recording now. Go ahead, ask your question again, please.
Basically Wassa crackers. They're these like whole grain crackers that you can buy, like in even kosher supermarkets have them, but they sell them like in a lot of places. Basically, gives them a hechsher, and the OK on their website has this like whole write up on what the bracha is. And at first they addressed that they're like pas Yisrael because they have a mashgiach, I guess, not tamidi, but the way they turn on the ovens once and then they make a run for like 6 months basically. So they just have a mashgiach. However, that's irrelevant. Their pas Yisrael doesn't say on the packaging, but they are. But they have this whole write up that the bracha is actually hamoitzi, and the reason why they say is because the way that they're baked in like this long sheet, and it's baked as like one loaf, and only afterwards, after it's finished baking, then it gets cut into these crackers, and for that reason they cite that the bracha is hamoitzi and not mezonos.
Interesting.
Do you know anything like about that?
Well, there is a machlekes, and like I said, some say the bracha on melba toast and all of these things should be hamoitzi, because once they're baked and they're edible as is, they retain that bracha even if they're toasted afterwards, just like regular toast. You take a piece of bread and you toast it, it stays hamoitzi. Others say no, because it was made with the intention of toasting it and making it crisp and a snack, so it's mezonos.
Mm-hmm.
So if Shlomo Zalman holds it's mezonos.
But all these things, if you were planning to eat on a certain amount of shear of more than 4 beitzim, then you would have to wash, even though this is just the bottom line for mezonos.
If what? I'm sorry.
In other words, if you eat enough of all this stuff, even pies and barokas and melba toast and pita chips, if you ate so much, then you would have to wash. Or
you would have to wash.
Say hamotzi, right?
If you eat enough of them, you have to wash, yeah.
That would even go for a pie with pie crust, if I'm eating a whole pie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how does a Chabadnik paskin in this situation? He like Shlomo Zalman?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a position of the Alter Rebbe per se on it.
Okay.
Now, this is all this was very useful last week. I was at a wedding on Lag BaOmer, so when they had the smorgasbord in the beginning, I, stayed away from all the mezonos, and I ate a lot of meat.
Nice. So yeah, I'm looking on the OK website, Benji, Ariel, and yeah, that's what he says. He says hamoitzi. He's quoting Rabbi Belsky. Rabbi Belsky has held that you would make hamoitzi and melba toast as well. But yeah, that's a machlekes. That's how they're paskening. I just posted it on the chat. You want to post a picture of that toast on the chat, please?
Yeah.
So Emmanuel was saying how at a wedding they were serving like toasted round pieces of bread. So that could be hamoitzi anyway. If they took bread that was baked as regular bread and they toasted it, thank you, or bagels or whatever, and they toasted it, that's for sure hamoitzi. No, bagel chips, the ones that are mass produced, are made by companies that make it in order to make it into a chip. They don't just take some leftover bagels in some random bakery and make them into bagel chips. They have a factory, they make bagels, and they make them into chips. So that's, according to Shlomo Zalman, mezonos. But if it's just a caterer who takes leftover bagels taka from somebody, or even not leftover, they buy bagels from a bakery, and they bake it and toast it. That would be hamoitzi for sure. So I had I'm sorry?
Pita chips are the same idea?
Same idea, yeah.
Well, they sell pita chips to make it mezonos.
Exactly. According to Shlomo Zalman, they're mezonos.
Well, even not a commercial.
No.
Why? It's baked and crispy. They don't make pita and then make it the chips.
Yes, they do.
Why?
That's how they make it.
Is that what it says?
Of course. Pita chips is made into pita.
Why don't they just continue the process? Why would you process?
Because that's not how you make it. It would taste different. It wouldn't taste like pita chips if you would just bake it that way. It would be a pretzel.
Why can't you just bake it until it becomes crispy?
Try it and let me know how it goes.
To dry out for a while.
I'm telling you, it doesn't go. It's like, if you want to make toast, you can't bake it into toast. You have to bake it into bread and then toast it. As I get this, that's just the way it is.
Can you also burn?
I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah, the outside burns and the inside doesn't.
Oh, we can
Yeah.
check that. Oh.
You can check that.
But you don't make
I'm
toast, you don't
open.
make toast as a low food.
I'm open to being corrected. But I don't think I'm wrong. Anyway, my son lost a brachas bee this week, and I disagree with the school. And I told his teacher as such. His teacher's your son, David Lev, and I messaged him, but nothing to do.
What was the thing?
The question was salad with croutons. He said hamoitzi. I mean, I don't know how he knew the croutons were hamoitzi or not. I mean, maybe that was part of the question. Salad with bread croutons. Okay. He said hamoitzi. The other kid said hamoitzi and adamo. And the other kid got it right. And my son said, well, what do you mean? How could it be hamoitzi and adamo? So his teacher said, that's what the book says. So the other kid got it right. Well,
Gefährlich.
that's not right, because once you make a moitzi,
That is what it was said.
it's a mistake. It's a mistake.
That
Every year they
is.
look at it and they never correct it all.
Always going up and back on
They
certain
never
products.
correct it all. I sent them all my corrections one year, and they were makabel some of them, and some of them they decided against. I don't know who they consulted with. But anyway.
That's Asher from Minha, that's Asher Minha Torah to let them get away with that.
Also Minatayr, why Minatayr?
Isn't it that there's the famous stories about people who taught something wrong? Their teacher taught them something wrong, and then they're,
Well, that's another question. But my point is, when you make hamoitzi, you automatically cover every meal food. Salad is a meal food. The only question is, I said, maybe he can eat less than a kazayas of the croutons. Then it's a machloikis if you cover the foods or not. But still, you can't say hadama because it's a suffix brachos. It's a doubt. So
Why? If you know you're going to eat less?
if you know you're going to eat less than a kazayas, it's a suffix. It's a suffix if it covers the meal foods or not. Yeah, it's a suffix.
I thought it was for sure not.
No, it's a machloikis.
well, what was that question again?
If you know you're going to eat less than a kazayas of bread, it's a machloikis if it covers the meal foods or not. Some say yes, hamoitzi is still the most important. Some say no, it's only important if you can eat a kazayas. If not, it's not important compared to the other foods. No,
But it's not mistari.
No, it's a separate thing.
What is it?
I thought it was a mistari, even if.
There's a kabetzas in order to make al tzitzit. I'm sorry?
But even if you eat less than a kazayas, doesn't it get mistarif with the other foods? So you could still bench?
No.
That doesn't apply here.
Mistarif is towards the shear of Kriya Suda. It's not the shear of kazayas.
Okay.
To bench, you have to have a kazayas of bread. Okay, last but not least on my list is chocolate covered matzah.
Maybe that was the question. That's why you brought it up. Why would else?
But it's a suffix brachos. You can't say Adam. It's a
Is
suffix.
that what Chabad do? I
If-
don't think that's the halacha of Svardim. No, Svardim, it doesn't
Cover?
cover. You
Okay.
should make it about everything else. Maybe that would make a lot of sense in the realm of the question.
Oh, you mean maybe they got it from another brachos book that was following that opinion? That could be.
Meaning, if you're going to have a salad and a little bit of croutons, how much croutons can you possibly have? Croutons are crouton. How big is it?
Okay, that should have been part of the question.
Maybe it was.
If it's true,
Maybe
it should be part of the question. But I don't know what the halacha is for Svardim. He's a good Rebbe. I have no complaints. Chas v'shalom. But nevertheless.
They're always changing this product. Every year. This one looks it over, the ones that are the teachers on to change something else.
Okay, when we get to that, we'll get to that. Okay, we are learning chapter 3 with Hashem's help.
What was chocolate covered matzah again?
Chocolate covered matzah is hamoitzi.
Okay. It's like the pretzels.
Unless you're Sephardic, right?
Exactly, then it's Mezonos.
But we don't need.
When? On Pesach or during the year? On Pesach, you can have it for Achron Shel Pesach, for the last day.
Why again is according to the Spartan chocolate covered matzah Mezonos? It's the matzah itself that's made with water, not with liquids.
Sfardim say Mezonos and matzah year round. They only say Hamotzi on it on Pesach because they consider that matzah is like a cracker.
Uh-huh. And again, crackers according to Spartan are also not Mezonos. I mean, not
Crackers are Mezonos, like they are for Ashkenazim. Ashkenazim also say Mezonos and cracker. Question is, what's the difference between a cracker and a matzah? So Ashkenazim consider matzah different than a cracker because people use it as a regular meal food. But Sfardim consider it the same as a cracker. It's just a big cracker.
So Spartan paskin that you'll never bench on a cracker.
And crackers? No, you could bench if you eat enough. It's like all the other Mezonos foods that could become hamotzi. If you eat enough, they become hamotzi.
So then what's the difference between Ashkenazim and Sfardim in that regard?
In regards to crackers, no difference. In regards to matzah, Ashkenazim make hamotzi even on one crumb of matzah, and Sfardim will only make hamotzi if you eat enough to be kaveh.
Got it.
Except on Pesach. On Pesach, they consider it hamotzi because that's the only bread there is to eat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not put on 1800s.
So,
I mean, that's no difference. It's still a cracker. Whether it's leavened or not, the consistency is the same. The bracha is not affected. The bracha is not affected whether it's chametz or matzah.
so back on the discussion we had before about matzah bowls. So that means like during Pesach, if I eat a matzah bowl, which is disintegrated matzah, I could say a Mezonos on that, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
That's Mezonos. No matter how much you eat, that's Mezonos. Because it's cooked and it has no tzuras hapas. It loses its form as bread, so it's not even a potential hamotzi.
Wow.
The Bruxy would belong to chocolate. People chocolate.
But yeah, again, with something that doesn't have a
The broth's only if it has at least a little bit of water.
Or if it's chocolate.
Pure chocolate, no, but people generally are not sure it's 100% chocolate, maybe some water. People are usually strict. I'm sorry?
So it's interesting then that people are always making this. I mean, for those who eat gebrachs, I mean, it's not just, you could have all kinds of interesting desserts, with this stuff.
Absolutely, of course.
So I don't. Wow, this opens up
I've
a whole
never
new
been
thing.
to a Pesach program in my life. Actually, I stopped by one once, but I'm told that they have a lot of interesting foods. That's what I'm told. Okay, Perek Gimel, here we go. Perek Gimel is about Ikar and tafel.
You didn't send out a PDF for Perek Gimel, did you? I didn't get.
Yes, I did. You guys
Oh, you
get
did?
it?
No.
Like you did for the other people?
I sent it out. What happened?
Did you go for tonight?
I sent out 2 emails.
No, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I just got one.
But the English and Hebrew version, okay?
That is so strange.
It's okay. I printed out the thing off the Chabad.org website, so I can still have text to follow.
Here it is. It's in my drafts. Wonder why I didn't send it. Okay, I sent it now. So if you have a no, that was another one. That was another one. I sent the printout, and I meant to send out the PDF of chapter 3, but I for some reason didn't send it out. But I just sent it out now. Okay, here we go. Ta'aroives shnei minin.
Is that a different Seder?
No,
My paradigm was
you're in Luach. You're in Luach. Continue to the Seder.
What's Luach?
He wrote first a Luach and then a Seder. Seder is the final. Is the final thing.
Luach.
Luach was like a kitzur hilchos brachos to put up on the back of shul, like on the luach, like on the bulletin board. And then the Seder was, no, it's more or less the same. The Seder was just a revised version of the luach. So the Seder is like the final ruling.
Really sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, so chapter 3 is about Ikar and tafel. Ikar means the main thing, tafel means the secondary item. The halacha is that when you have two foods, and one is an ikar and one is a tafel, you make a bracha on the ikar and you cover the tafel with that bracha. Now there are different types of ikar and tafel. From halacha 8 and on, we're going to learn that even an ikar and tafel that are not eaten together, the ikar covers the tafel. You don't have to eat the ikar together with the tafel for the ikar to cover the tafel. So for example, if you eat a food which is very salty, and then you take another food to, just to calm the saltiness down, you're eating them totally separately, but the second food is secondary to the first food. More commonly, when you eat bread during a meal, that is considered the main part of the meal. All of the other foods, if they're meal foods, are secondary, even if you don't eat it with the bread, right? So that's the concept of ikar and tafel of foods that are not mixed. The first 7 halachas of this chapter discuss ikar and tafel when the foods are mixed. And basically, the principle is that when the foods are mixed, you go by what is the main food, main ingredient, and what is the secondary ingredient. The main ingredient is what you mainly want to eat, and the secondary ingredient is what is giving flavor to the food you want to eat. And you make the bracha on the one and you cover the other. If you like all the ingredients, then generally we follow the majority. However, there are differences when it comes to what ingredients we're talking about, if we're talking about grain food ingredients or not. And there is also a difference whether it's been cooked or not, or just mixed without cooking. Okay, here we go. Karoives shnei minim, a mixture of 2 minim. Shemuravin yachad, that are mixed together. Ve'ein b'chaseim shavos.
Like this one?
No, that's not mu'ur of yachad. That's not mixed. That's separate. You understand the reason that the Star case said to make 2 brachas on the Crispix? For those of you that were not here before, one side is rice, one side is corn. The reason the Star case says to make 2 brachas is because they're not mixed. I mean, they're stuck to each other, but they're not mu'urav. You understand?
Wait, what does it mean make 2 brachas? To say 2 brachas on the same item?
On the same item, exactly. Half is shahakol and half is mezonos, if you make mezonos and rice. If you go by the Alter Rebbe and you say shahakol and rice, then you make shahakol on both.
But how does that happen practically? You
I
say
mean, one shahakol covers both. I'm sorry?
you say Baruch Atah Hashem, burning mezonos, and Baruch Atah Hashem shakol?
No. You say mezonos and you eat the mezonos side.
Offside.
And you swallow and make sure there's no crumbs in your mouth. And then you say shahakol.
You could do
On
that
the
with
other
that
side.
piece of Crispix?
Here you are. You see? Rice on one side, corn on the other.
You could separate it?
Yeah,
Why not?
if you bite it the right way.
Right here. Here's one side, here's the other side.
Wow.
You're making me think of Oreo. You're thinking about Oreo cookies, where you could pull them apart and eat the goop.
Absolutely, of course. That's the main fun of Oreo cookies.
Also lechatchila, aren't we supposed to say a bracha on something that's shalim?
that's an interesting question.
I'm
What
sorry.
is that?
You're supposed to make a bracha on something that's complete. So maybe you should make the bracha first and then break it up. Maybe. And then take another complete one and say the other bracha and then break that
On
one
the
up.
other side. You got two sides, Rabbi.
I don't know about that.
You got two sides.
Yesh la'ayin, or maybe because they're separate brachas,
I
maybe
thought
they're not
that
considered
thing is
shalom.
only by a month.
No,
I've never seen that.
absolutely,
Oh, I
absolutely,
never knew that. Like
absolutely.
even an apple.
Even an
No,
apple,
I've seen it by an apple.
absolutely.
That's why it's a shame.
Rabbi, I have a
When we
question.
were in Koilel, we learned this every day. Every morning, Rav Deitch used to eat while he was giving his shir, you know. He's a busy man, he didn't have time to eat and teach, and it was all together. So
Rabbi,
he used to- as he would make the bracha on the apple, he would cut a little piece of it before the bracha, because he's supposed to start cutting. Then he would make the bracha, and then he would cut it through and eat it.
Rabbi, אני יוצא, I say, ברוך אתה השם, אלוקינו מלך העולם, בורא מנזרות, שהכל יהיה ברוך.
Toch kedei dibur you can change. Before you swallow.
Before I swallow.
Yeah, once you swallow it, it's done.
Before I swallow, so I יוצא both of them, both the bracha.
No,
But
the second one. If
second
you
one.
correct it within toch kedei dibur, then it's the second one. You can't do both. That's a bracha, matbeya shelo tavu chachamim. You can't make up your own brachot. And if you do, it doesn't work.
In this case, the Ikar tafel,
The what?
but is it tafel 50-50?
There is no ikar and tafel.
So,
Anyway, they're not mixed, so there's no ikar and tafel if they're not
so
mixed.
how can OU,
I'll get to that.
Oh, there is. Why wouldn't there be?
Oh, if you're eating one because of the other, yeah, it could be. Take it back. Take it
Rabbi,
back.
you don't think OU is מכשיל אנשים פה, בברכה, במוצר הזה?
הם לא עשו את זה, קלאגס עשו את זה.
הם נתנו הכשר,
תשאלו את
הם נתנו
קלאגס.
הכשר, רבי.
בסדר,
לא היו.
זה כשר, ברוך השם.
נתנו הכשר OU, חתום על OU שם. מה זה, זה OU over there? Okay, so the K נתן הכשר.
Who's K?
K is usually unknown, but
They say that it's
it's Massachusetts. It's the Vada Kashrus of Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, right?
Vada Kashrus, Massachusetts, yeah.
Why are they only good by Kellogg?
They're not good by Kellogg's, but most K's, you don't know who they are. This K, knowing that they're this company. See?
So why don't they put a different one? Why don't they put their own on?
Nobody?
Instead of the, the
I
KV.
heard only Kellogg's you can only trust it. That's what all the conscious say.
Because other K's, you don't know who it is.
Other K is unknown. It's a claim.
K.
The other K, any nothing but Kellogg's? A company can just put a K on
They
it.
say it's from China.
No, K is not a trademark. It's not a trademark. Anybody can do it. Even a guy who's not a rabbi can say, I say it's kosher. Prove it's not. In my definition, it's kosher. So it's basically meaningless. But that one they know. Does the Vada Kashrus Massachusetts give other Hashem? I don't know. I have no idea. But unless you know, you can't. Okay.
Change the logo.
Taroivis Shnei Minim. A mixture of two minim.
גרעינים הם מפוצחים, דברים כאלה? שקדים וגרעינים ובוטנים. רבי, זה מה אנחנו מתכוונים? We got בוטנים, שקדים, גרעינים in the plate.
No.
זה לא זה.
זה לא זה. נגיע. עוד מעט. שהם מרובין יחד, that are mixed together, ואין ברכסיהם שומס. And they don't have the same bracha. So you have basically two ingredients. Two ingredients mixed together, and they don't have the same bracha. Ima echad hu ikar.
Is it food or food?
Food. Ima echad hu ikar. If one ingredient is the main one, v'hasheni enos nebakim l'sak v'l'achshirei, and the second one they only are adding in order to fix it and to prepare it, so the main one covers the other one with its bracha. Whether the bracha before or the bracha after. if both of them are the main one. In other words, he doesn't have a preference of one or the other. Happens to be 2 ingredients, or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. He doesn't have a dafka likes one or the other. It's made of different ingredients, but there's no ikar and tafel in his mind. If one of them is the majority, that one is considered the main thing. And the smaller one is considered tafel, and it's nullified compared to the majority.
But if its preference is the minority, that would be weaker.
Exactly. If his preference is majority, that means no. Sorry, no. Even the minority. If that's the main thing, and the majority is there just to give flavor to the minority, whatever the ingredient is, that is the ikar. That's correct. It's not a question of value. It's a question of what is the main thing for him.
I think Mr. Burrow disagrees with that. I remember Mr. Burrow specifically saying that it's quantity.
Quantity if there's no known ikar. No, I don't think you're right.
Can you again just have an example of what something that would be a technical tafel that you find ikar?
Technical, you mean in volume?
Right.
In volume? So, I mean, when I was growing up, they used to say Mezonos on licorice. Nowadays, all the brachas books say shahakal on licorice, because they consider that the main purpose of licorice is the taste of the licorice and the sugar and whatever, and the flour that is there is only just to hold it together. It's a binder, exactly. And I think flour is actually first ingredient. But it's not there, that's not what you want licorice. You don't want the flour. I mean, you need
That's
the flour.
majority?
I don't know if it's the majority of the plurality. I'm saying it's more than any other one ingredient. I don't know if it's the majority of the whole thing, but it's more than any other one ingredient, I'm pretty sure. But it's not why you're eating it.
Right, well, that's.
So halacha we paskin that it's mezonos for licorice.
Nowadays, all the brachas books are saying it's shahak.
Uh-huh.
Because that's the grain is not important in terms of the reason people eat it is not for that flavor, it's for the licorice flavor. I'm gonna check it up right now.
Why would that affect it? Like, what does the flavor have to do with it?
That's the main reason you're eating it. That's the ikar. Licorice candy shakal. Although licorice candy contains flour, the flour, according to a number of leading licorice manufacturers, is used as a thickener and binder. Therefore, make shahakal, page 67. That's Rabbi Bodner.
But aren't there some things that never become tafel, like mezonos?
No, that's if it's there for a flavor. If it's there as a binder, it can be tough. The following are considered non-significant uses: binding or thickening, color or aroma, a coating to prevent the food from sticking. All right, that applies even to flour. Those things are considered tafel, even if it's flour.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake, if the whole purpose of the mezonos is just to hold it, then it would be tafel. But if you want the flavor of the mezonos too, then it's mezonos.
So cheesecake with a nice, normal, good graham cracker, whatever crust is mezonos.
Well, the crust is definitely mezonos, but the cheese part of it could be needs a separate bracha because it's separate. You know what I'm saying? It's not mixed.
It's one on top of the other.
It's one on top of the other, exactly.
So you would make 2 brachas,
Some say 2 brachas, yeah.
and some say just mezonos.
Yeah.
So 2 persons would be in the same cheesecake, and one wants to the crust, the other one doesn't care about the crust, so they say different rounds.
Yeah, if you don't care about the crust at all, and your only intention is for the cheese, and the crust is only there to
How are you supposed to evaluate that? Like, I don't know what I want. I just want cheesecake. I don't know if it's the cracker, if it's the cake. Like, all I know is that I want cheesecake.
I'm not sure about what I'm saying in that about cheesecake. In other words, cheesecake generally, the purpose of the Mezonos is for the flavor also. That's why they make it sweet, graham crackers or whatever, because that's a good flavor. So it definitely adds to the flavor. So I don't know if we say that you can decide you don't want the Mezonos. I mean, so don't eat the Mezonos if you don't want the Mezonos. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it makes a difference in that case. If it was baked with the intention that it's just there to hold it and not to add flavor, then it would be shahakal. I don't think you can decide in that case. Question?
A cheesecake would be, if you're making a cheesecake to have the crust taste good and the cheese tastes good and the toppings taste good and everything is just going to taste good, like you usually do when you make a nice cheesecake for Shavuos.
Yeah.
So it would be Mezonos.
It would definitely be Mezonos on the bottom, but some say you still have to say shahakal on the top.
Who says that? Shahak on the top.
Now you're asking me to remember what I learned a few hours ago. What does Bodner say?
Yeah, it says here, depends on if it's a thin layer of dough, just to merely for the appearances, it's
Yeah.
the whole thing is shared.
And if,
If it's thick, then you say Mezonos.
does he say Mezonos only or both?
If you want the shell
Yep,
more than you want the cheese,
yep.
then the cheese will be helpful to the shell.
In the Rabbi Cohen's Sefer of the Birchos HaNehenin in the back, it says for cheesecake, it's just Mezonos.
Rabbi Cohen, you mean the
Your father-in-law.
Seder Birchos HaNehenin.
Since Mezonos is being used as an insignificant matter, the cheese is being the Ikar, the correct bracha will be shell.
Right.
Well, that goes back to what he just mentioned online. It doesn't matter if it's the minority or the majority, as long as it's there for taste. So it would keep the bracha of Mezonos.
Usually, yes, but the reason that some say it's two brachas is because it's not running. It's like a separate thing. I'm sorry?
The fact that you can separate them.
No, you could separate them, doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? If it's one thing, just because you could separate, that doesn't mean you have to separate it. But if it is actually two separate things.
The same thing applies to,
And then in the Brachos fourth book, he says the first bracha for cheesecake is Mezonos, and then the after bracha is Bar Nefashos with crust added for flavor, as in generally the case. I don't know.
Right, the after bracha is complicated. We're going to get to that soon. But here you have Rabbi Mandelbaum's opinion in the Sefer V'Zeis HaBracha. For example, he says cheesecake, which is made of a important layer of cheese. And chashuv layer, it's not just a thin layer.
Of cheese.
Of cheese.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, usually cheese.
Normal. And then there's a nice layer of, the cake on the bottom. So, according to the Mishnah Berurah, he says you have to make every one of them separately. Because the fact that one is on top of the other means that they're not considered one food. They're two separate foods, basically.
So you have to first the cross, and salt first.
Ooh, I missed out on something very important. Wow, this is important. I didn't notice this. Sorry. Ushnei aminim loy nefu yachad. Thank you very much. They were not baked together. We're talking about a no-bake cheesecake. a no-bake cheesecake.
It's a no-bake cheesecake.
You can make a cheesecake without baking it. Exactly, no-bake cheesecake. You have the base, and you mix the cheese separately, and then you put it on the base, you put it in the fridge to set. That's it. No-bake cheesecake. That's the vort. That's the vort. That's the vort. It's no machlokes, my friends. I want to clarify. It's no machlokes between all the other brachas books and this one. They are talking about a baked cheesecake. A baked cheesecake, because it's baked together, it turns into one food. I didn't discuss that yet. I'm going to discuss it in a minute. It turns into one food, and mezonos, which is there for flavor, becomes the main thing. And there's no question that the bracha beforehand is mezonos. The bracha afterwards is very complicated, because to be able to make a ala michya, you have to eat a kazayis and a k'de'achilas press, which is not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You have to eat so much cheesecake in such an amount of time. It's not going to happen.
So the main is cheese or not?
So you're going to have a doubt about that after bracha. You basically have to have mezonos, shakal, se'ala michya.
Wait, why? The crust is a kazayis. If you have one slice, it's a kazayis of crust.
You think so?
How big is I thought we were saying the kazayis is a volume. It's not such a big size.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, okay, I'll take it back. If you make sure to eat a kazayis and k'de'achilas pras, yes, you're right. You can make the ala michya, correct.
Is that 4 minutes?
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, between 4 and 6 for this purpose. I mean, there's a lot of different shitas, and we try to be machmir, but for this purpose, between 4 and 6 minutes, yeah.
If the crust is pre-baked, so if you boil it already, it's pre-baked. And then you put the cheese, and then you bake the whole thing together. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, if you bake it, in the end, it's gonna become a zionist.
If you finish one of these, Rabbi, plate like that.
It's a kazayis.
Because I
think-
ala mechia.
No. Nefashot. So the point is, if you don't bake it, so then you have two foods, not baked and not really mixed. One is sitting on top of the other, and you want both of them, you say separate brachas. That's a general halacha. If you have two foods and they're not mixed, and there's no clear ikar on tafel, you make a separate bracha. So for example, if you take a cracker and you dip it into a dip, the main thing is the cracker. The dip is to flavor it. But if you take a cracker and you put like a thick layer of tuna fish on it, obviously it's not just to flavor the cracker. You want the tuna fish. You also want the cracker. That's why you put in one on top of the other. But they're not cooked together, and they're not mixed together in any meaningful way. One is sitting on top of the other. You have to make two separate brachas.
But if you just use the cracker as a way of picking up whatever you want, you should make a bracha on the cracker.
Yeah. If you're eating it, if you're just using it as a spoon and you're not eating it, you don't have to make a bracha.
So-
But if you're eating it, obviously you want to eat it.
So,
You want to eat it.
so
Yeah.
Rabbi, you have a carrot and you dip it in the liquid. It's also charcoal and
Adama.
Adama.
Yes.
I understand what you have Mezonos and Ikar.
One second, just one point. Pringles are shakal, not Adama, but a few years ago they became dairy, so now it's OUD. It wouldn't be good for the Lubavitch, although, Nachal Yisrael, yeah, that's correct.
No,
Not all of
the
them.
regulars.
It depends on the brand. What was your, talking about Pringles? Go ahead, what were you saying?
Yeah, we can have a mixture with Mezonos or charcoal. Mezonos doesn't over the stone.
If it's a mixture, it's not a mixture.
Let's say we have the tuna cracker with tuna,
That's not a mixture.
but it's in together. Some is more important.
Eating it together doesn't mean it's a mixture. That's what I'm saying. If something is, I'm going to explain it now, but if something is cooked together and the mezonos is there for flavor, then the mezonos becomes the main thing. If something is mixed together, and mezonos is there for flavor, mezonos is the main thing. But if you have two foods and you happen to put one on top of the other, and you want both of them, and there's no clear ikar and tafel, then mezonos doesn't become the main thing because it's not one food. It's two separate foods.
When you make the the bracha on Mezonos first?
Yeah?
Is it doing a shahata, then you still make
No,
a
just
bracha?
because Mezonos is a more important bracha, you make it
No,
first.
but if for some reason you make shahata first, you still make a bracha.
Still make Mezonos, yeah. Because Shaka doesn't cover other brachas unless you specifically want it to. Doesn't automatically go to other foods. Okay, Rabbi Isai, here's where we are going to explain the difference between cooked foods and not cooked foods. Listen carefully. And this is based on a shiur heard from Rav Deitch. So, the Alter Rebbe holds that the difference between when something is cooked together, let's put it this way, when something is cooked together, then it becomes one food, regardless of how well mixed it is. Whether it's mixed, like mashed together, not mashed together, doesn't make a difference. It's cooked together, it becomes one food. An example of this is cholent. You cook cholent, it has potatoes, it has meat, it has barley. And the barley is mezonos. Let's presume that the barley is mezonos because it's pearl barley, it's shelled, or because it cooks so long that it sticks to each other, the pearls of barley. So, according to the Alter Rebbe, the bracha on cholent is mezonos.
Cover the meat also?
Covers the meat, covers the potatoes. The meat it's a separate piece. You could pick up the meat, maybe you'll get a piece of barley in it, maybe you won't. Same thing with the potato. But it doesn't make a difference, it's cooked together. It's cooked together. Mezonos always becomes the main thing. If you have a mezonos ingredient in there, and it's there for the taste, it becomes the main thing. Not to make it ala mechia, you need a kazayis, kadechi, that's a separate question. But for the before bracha, the bracha is mezonos because mezonos becomes the main thing.
You have to grab it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because if not, then it'd be.
Yeah. I think so. You have to, yeah. In general, when it comes to the Ikar and tafel, you're supposed to make a bracha on the Ikar and cover the tafel, not vice versa. Even though when you make the bracha on the Ikar, the tafel is covered by it, but you're supposed to make a bracha on the Ikar to cover the tafel.
So, Rabbi, you can have a cake, mezonot, and then you cover the kavana on the chamin, and then after you eat the chamin without bracha?
Yeah. Mezonos. Lama lo?
So if you take a piece of meat from the cholent and you shake, there's no barley.
It's a good question. How many do you make?
Are you planning to eat the barley or not? I'm sorry?
It's not polite to do that, first of all.
You're not planning?
It's your challenge.
If you're not planning to eat it, then you say shahakol. If you are planning to eat it, the Alter Rebbe holds it's a bracha levatolo. No, if you say shahakol. If you say shahakol on meat and you're planning to eat the mezonos, it's a bracha levatolo. I mean, the truth is, I don't know why he says the word bracha levatolo. Why doesn't he say bracha shenetzricha? I'm not sure. Because usually when you say an extra bracha, it's not necessary, but it's not actually levatolo, because here you didn't make the mezonos yet. So I don't understand.
Here too, Rabbi?
Maybe it's only when you already said the mezonos. Maybe that's what he means. You already said the mezonos, and then you say the shahakol. Maybe it's levatolo. It's definitely an unnecessary bracha. It could be it's not levatala if you say it in that order. That's definitely unnecessary. If you say the mezonos and then shahakol, it's a levatala. If you say the shahakol and the mezonos, I think it's only a ina tzricha, not a levatala, because you didn't.
You don't shake it, just have a little barley, sauce, like the meat, and you plan to eat. So it just doesn't feel right to the Mezonos, because if you're eating a piece of it like this, you're a little
if you're planning to eat the whole the cholent in general, you're not eating meat, you're eating cholent. The brachas mezonos. Feels right, it doesn't feel right. We don't go by feelings here. Sorry. I mean, sometimes we do. The truth is, when it comes to Ikar and tafel, sometimes we do. But in this case, the Torah says that the mezonos is the main thing, even if you don't feel like it. The Torah says the mezonos is the main thing.
Let's eat in Mezonos.
Well, yeah, in general, you're supposed to eat the Ikar first before the tafel. So the truth is, if there are pieces of barley on the meat, that's fine. You don't have to have a separate piece of barley. But if there's no barley on the meat, you're right. You can't say mezonos on the meat. Say mezonos on a barley, or at least some barley. Mashalta?
No, I mean, this is also something with the meat, with the chewing. It's not the meat is shakol, and the chamin is mezonot. So here
The whole chamin is mezonot. The whole chamin is mezonot.
Oh, chamin is mezonot.
Yeah.
What about there's something called yapsig, which is just made of potatoes and meat, but the potatoes get pretty disintegrated.
If the main thing is the meat, then you make shakol. If not, you go by the main thing, and whatever is the main thing. Usually meat is considered more important. So that would be the main thing. But if there is no clear main thing, you go by the majority.
One Shabbat was chamin. You every scoop you pick it up, a lot of basar. Very basar Hashem. So the main is the chamin, or is the
No.
basar?
If it has mezonot, the mezonot is the ikar.
The ikar.
Full of-
That's not a question. They put mashed potatoes with meat inside. So whatever's the majority, you make a bracha on the pot on the other hand.
If there is no clear ikar, usually meat is more important. So you would think.
There's a layer of, okay, I don't want to be so specific, but let's just say there's a layer of mashed potatoes, a layer of meat, a layer of mashed potatoes. So what would you make?
So generally, you follow the ikar and the tafel. If the meat is more important, then you make shakal only. If they're of equal importance, then you would follow the majority.
Seemingly there is the equal importance, right? Because you really are enjoying the soft, delicious mashed potatoes mixed with the meat. It's really the mix of both that's making the dish.
That's true, but I mean, I don't know, maybe people like meat more than potatoes. Meat is more special.
In the world's eyes.
I don't know.
By pound of public, so not public, by pound of kosher market.
I don't know for sure, but it does say, for example, that when you have chicken soup, you assume that the chicken flavor is more important than all the vegetables. It's the assumption. Okay?
But don't we also have the idea that you have to say the more specific bracha first anyways? So by mashed potatoes, you have to say hadama, and then on the meat, say shehakol.
If it's two brachas, you make the more specific food first. If it's one bracha, then you make that one bracha and you don't make any other bracha.
Right.
When something is cooked together, you decide what the bracha is, and that's what you say.
And if
You don't separate it out into two
if you
brachas.
decided to separate, it would be a bracha levatala.
It would not be a bracha levatala unless you made the bracha on the ikar first, and then the bracha on the tafel second. Then it would be levatala.
So
If you made the bracha on the tafel first, and then on the ikar, then it would be just she'ein tzricha.
so
Be unnecessary.
So lechatchila, would it be better to pick out from a soup or something a hadama and then a shehakol and then that stuff, or lechatchila it's okay to just say one bracha?
I don't think, if it's clear which is the correct bracha, there is no maila to take anything out and say separate brachas.
But it's another bracha. Like the mila, just because I need to be yotzi 100 brachas, so can I do it for that Indian?
So there is a concept of taking out a tafel and making a bracha on the tafel before the Ikar. The Alter Rebbe does not bring it in this case where it's one food. He only brings it when you're having an Ikar and a tafel separately. And if you have it in the order of Ikar and tafel, the Ikar will be part of the tafel. He discusses changing the order to make a bracha on their tafel separately. But if it's one food, he does not mention taking it out. He doesn't mention taking it out. So there is no mila in it per se. But maybe on Shabbos, when you need 100 brachas, could be it's allowed. But again, you would have to separate it out and say the bracha on the tafel first, before the Ikar, not vice versa. And you can only do that if the bracha on the tafel happens to be higher on the bracha's totem pole than the other bracha. Because otherwise you're changing the order. You're not allowed to change the order of the brachas. Even to get to 100 brachas, you're still not allowed to change the order. You know what I'm saying?
It's not changing the order. You're saying Hadama first because it's more specific. You're saying a shakal after.
It may not be more specific. What if it's Mezonos and Hadama? And Mezonos is the main thing, and you're going to take out a piece of Hadama. You're going to say the Hadama first. You're changing the order.
Yeah, but in the line of brachas, you say Mezonos first. No, when you have.
Yeah, but let's say the Mezonos is the main thing, which it is. Let's say in the case of Chalat, you want to get to 100 brachas, so you want to take out a potato and say Hadama first. You can't do that because you're changing the order.
No, I would say Mezonos and then take out a piece of potato and say Hadama.
That's a bracha levatala.
Uh-huh.
Once you said a bracha on the Ikar, the tafel is covered. So if you say bracha on the tafel, you said a bracha levatala.
Uh-huh.
You can take a tafel out and say a bracha before the Ikar, but like I said, you'll only be able to do that if you're not changing the order of the brachas.
Right.
But again, the only mila of that is for the purpose of 100 brachas. Otherwise, there's no mila in it. Because it's one food, make one bracha. What's the point of separating it out to make separate brachas?
Like a silver.
More orange safe.
I'm sorry?
More orange safe. Just kidding.
So, question.
Rabbi, so you got cereal with the milk. So it's a cold because with the milk. And if you take the cereal before and you do mezonot.
Why is it charcoal? Because of the milk. Cereal and milk is the bracha on the cereal covers the milk. The milk is to add moisture to the cereal.
So
the milk is tafel to the cereal.
So you is the question if you can take a little bit milk and say shakol to drink, and then have to do mezonot with the
Mezonot comes first before shakol.
Okay. So the main is the mezonot.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned this. Once you
Question.
finish the cereal, you want to have a little more milk and drink.
So that seems like it's a little machlokes here. Let me answer the question here online, then I'll get to that. Yes, question?
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure, like when we have chicken soup, for example, and there's pieces of like a carrot in there, we don't have to say the separate bracha on the carrot, even though it's a nice
No, not
piece of carrot.
necessarily.
And what about if you put on like the soup croutons? What about that?
I'm sorry?
What about if you put soup croutons in, like the little soup nuts? You know, which I guess if I eat the soup nuts by themselves, they would be mezonos. But if they're if I'm just putting them to the chicken soup for some crunchy.
Yeah, that's a separate bracha.
That is a separate bracha.
Yeah, that's not cooked together. They don't become one thing. So you could say mezonos and then shahakal. Okay, so
yeah, I should say the mezonos before I put it in the chicken soup.
Chicken soup without chicken.
Isn't chicken soup?
chicken broth.
Yeah, so it's a lot of vegetables and you cook up the chicken. You cook it together and then you take out the chicken. Rice and chicken wings or whatever, just for the chicken flavor. And then put the chicken wings.
Still shahakal. The flavor of the chicken is still more important than the vegetables. If it's chicken soup. If it's vegetable soup, which some chicken to flavor it, that's not so
full
good.
of vegetables with the liquid.
When you say full, I don't know what the getter of full is. Usually chicken soup has chicken, mostly water, and a carrot, celery, maybe a few carrots, a few celeries, but it's not a vegetable soup, it's a chicken soup.
But when you take the plate, you're gonna see it's a shallot,
Shako,
4 vegetables and water.
all shako,
You're not gonna see chicken.
all shako. You don't have to see chicken. All shako. If you dafka want to say Adama first to get the 100 brachas, you have to take it out first. Because once you say shako, everything is covered. Okay. My friends, continuing on the discussion. So again, if you cook something, then you follow the guidelines. The guidelines are that if there's a Mezonos ingredient, the Mezonos is the main thing. Elchanan is coming. And Michael, I forgot to confirm. He asked me to confirm, and I forgot to confirm. Yes, please. And you have 2 people coming in, you said? Yeah. You have a minyan, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so let's tell Michael to come in the back, in the front. And okay, so if you cook it and you have ingredients that are not Mezonos ingredients, you follow the Ikar versus the tafel. If one of them is your main intention and one of them is your secondary intention, the main thing is the main thing and the secondary thing is covered. If there is no clear desire for one ingredient over the other, you follow the majority, whatever the majority is. There is no rules for how well it has to be mixed. If you're cooking something, it becomes one entity just because you're cooking it. And you follow the rules. Mezonos is the main thing. If it's there for flavor, we're going to see later. If it's not for flavor, it's different. But if it's there for flavor, Mezonos is the main thing. If it's not Mezonos, you follow the Ikar. And if there is no Ikar, you follow the majority. Now, when it comes to something that is not cooked together, listen carefully. Alter Rebbe holds that in order for it to become one bracha, it has to be mixed and crushed. Different than the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah just holds mixed. It doesn't hold of crushed. According to the Mishnah Berurah, if you have a fruit salad and it's cut up, and in every spoon that you pick up, you're going to have a mixture of ha'itz and adama, you follow the rules, which are, if you have an ikar, you have the ikar. If not, you follow the majority. Majority ha'itz, ha'itz. Majority adama, adama. And you cover the other one. The Alter Rebbe holds, in order for it to be... Who said everyone? Majority.
Why wouldn't you make a bracha on everyone?
Because it's become one food. It's mixed together.
It's an entity.
It's become a fruit salad. It's a new entity. It's fruit salad. It used to be strawberries and apples, and now it's fruit salad.
Wow.
Alter Rebbe holds, in order for it to become one, if it's not cooked, it has to be crushed. It's not enough to be just cut up. It has to be crushed, meaning it has to actually be like a mash. It has to be mashed together. So that's a big difference. According to Alter Rebbe, you have fruit salad. You take eitz out, you say eitz. Take adama out, you say adama. Now, if there's an ikar, see, this is in terms of the majority, in terms of the majority. If there's an ikar and tafel, then even if it's not mashed, there's an ikar and tafel. Ikar and tafel doesn't have to be mashed, because an ikar and tafel is true even if it's two separate foods that you're eating separately, right? In theory, you could have the salty food which covers the next food even though you're eating it separately. So if there's an ikar and tafel, it doesn't have to be mashed. Cereal and milk, for example, you don't have to mash in and make it into a mush. The cereal is the main thing. The milk is a secondary thing. It covers it. But in order for it to become one, when it's a simple majority, the Alter Rebbe holds it has to be mashed. The Mishnah Berurah holds as long as it's mixed well together, even if it's not mashed. Okay, I hope that clarifies it. There's a lot more to learn. We did 2 halachas instead of 7. Hope you're following me, Michael. And stay tuned for the Svardik halacha tomorrow. I'm sorry I didn't prepare that yet. Sorry.